Some of the discussion we've had, mostly by email and or postings on videos over the last week or two, has been about coming up with encrypted or safe places to be. And many of us, and myself included, have said, well, gee, obviously Google is not safe. If anything, Google is the enemy, right? YouTube is not safe. And how are we going to find safety at Microsoft or any of the rest of these guys? And the answer to that is, of course, yeah, that's it. So we've looked at all kinds of secure possibilities, and I've looked into them, the Proton Mail and some others, and half a dozen of you have at least posted saying, try this, try that, try the Swiss, try the Dutch, try the Aussies. We can get out of the United States and blah, 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 and that'll be safe. Well, the truth of the matter is, and this is something that Q pointed out, whether you take countenance in Q or not, and that is that the CIA and the NSA are at the bottom of all of this stuff. Even Tor is not protected. Your virtual networks, they can chase this stuff down. They can fake it. If they don't have, the only encryption stuff that they didn't crack is the stuff that they made. And there probably isn't anything that is being made anywhere, any encryption anywhere, that is not already busted, if not co-opted, if not created by the guys that we're fighting. So perhaps we should spend less time trying to be invisible, because we're not, and we're not going to be invisible. And I don't know whether any of you are aware of this, but I'm sure some of you are, but during 9/11 there of course was a NORAD project going on at the same time, a big, even though Condoleezza Rice said, gosh, I couldn't imagine anybody hijacking an airplane, the fact is that very day they were conducting exercises on a large scale, which of course totally disabled NORAD and basically brought the whole thing to a halt so that nobody accidentally shot down their planes that were maybe not planes to start with, just to be clear, so that we don't get into all kinds of 9/11 discussion. But the bottom line is that what they were doing with the NORAD stuff is that the Mossad allegedly had a program which created false dots on the screen on the radar, and they put enough of them up so that nobody would know which one was real. And so it was a sorting process. Well, it is exactly the same for us. What we need to do is not disappear under the radar, because there's no place to hide, okay? What we need to do is put so many dots on the radar that they don't know where to go, that there's no way of closing in on it. Someone said to me they didn't like the hive mentality idea, and frankly, I don't like being part of a hive as such either, because it sounds like we're just a bunch of dumb insects, and they had some alternate term. But the point is, the concept is two things. Number one is to have the benefit, the intellectual benefit of the sourcing of every one of these people, bringing it back to a collective center. That's part of it. And that part of it makes us as smart as the smartest of the digital folks in many ways. The second part is to be so many of us that nobody can swat us out of the sky. And as a number of people have pointed out, if you have one bee or one hornet, you swat it and you're done. But if you are surrounded with 10,000 of them and they're all stinging you, then you can swat all you want, but it won't help you. So you just as well surrender to it. And that's what we want to do. We want to put these dark guys into a place of surrender. We want to make it so that there are so many of us that no one of us is particularly at risk. They can't be picked off. And let me give you one other piece of this. I've been reading for the last month or so, off and on, I've been reading Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. And some of you will say, well, gee, why are you wasting your time on that? It's 1970s or 80s book about Russian or Soviet gulags and the whole process there. Well, the point of the matter is, it is perfectly apropos for any of us who understand what the dark potential is. The overwhelming potential of it is to take us all into that kind of setting. And people complained about Hitler killing off millions of people, and of course he did. But Stalin killed off at least 20 million of his own, and Mao killed off many more than that, maybe 50 million, maybe 100 million. And the deal is that once they got them disarmed and subjugated and quiet and terrified, they could pick any one of them off on a daily basis. And, you know, for instance, in Solzhenitsyn stuff, by the time 1945 came and they took over Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, and of course the rest of the behind Iron Curtain stuff, which I'll talk about in another post, they were able to go to an Estonian house, for instance, knock on the door at 11 o'clock at night, load the entire family onto a wagon and have them down at the train station. They were out of their house in 30 minutes. 30 minutes they were out of the house. That's all it took to totally dislodge those people from their entire livelihood and their way of life. And where they ended up, where they got shuffled off to in the gulag, was anybody's guess. So the whole idea of this is not to be picked off, okay? I don't mean to make this sound too dark, but it will get dark if we don't. Is to not get picked off, is to every time they go to somebody's door, we swarm them. And we get to a place where when we swarm them, we overwhelm them. And yes, some of us will get swatted, but if there are so many of us, as you know, that random incidence is so small that it, frankly, for all but a few of us, doesn't matter. That's the point. The point is not to be afraid of being swatted, but to be secure in the fact that so few will be swatted that we will get the job done. And those of us who are willing to step forward say, and it is imperative to us to say, hey, look, come hang around. Let's all work on this together. And by doing so, we take away the risk of the people that are speaking out, because we're all speaking out. So you want to be under the radar. The only way to be under the radar is to wait until they come get you, okay? Because they're still going to do it. And if everybody's under the radar, then the radar just closes in on us. Then we're all done. So let's be above the radar. Who cares? We don't need to be blatant about it, but let's be above the radar, and let's be millions of us above the radar. Let's cover the radar with white dots and make it impossible to shut us down. So thanks so much. I mean, this is just a concept. Give it a thumbs up if you like it, but we need to amass and we need to unite the 10 million or the 20 million or the 50 million or whatever it takes to get the job done. And to do that is to also do it without violence, and is to do it without relying upon Trump or Congress or anybody else to do it for us, because frankly, I'm not sure that there's anybody there to do it. Thanks so much for watching. Give a thumbs up if you can. Note my new email address, and let's go from there. Thanks so much.